And there's Stanley. She has gotten definitely bigger over the last couple months we've had her. And everybody asks about her. Um, Kids have been pretty good about checking on her when they come downstairs. We have adult children, so they're not have to worry about them doing anything. And the fact that I got security cameras on her allow me to enjoy watching her while she does her thing when I'm not home. And it looks like if you look at her back at certain angles, it looks like her pyramiding is slowly blending in. She'll always have those bumps because obviously it's made out of, the same stuff your fingernail is, but it turns to bone, and that's why she has to consume so much calcium in her diet. Most people, you have UV lights as a backup. Always have a backup for UV lights for a tortoise and reptile. However, most redfoots and forest dwellers get her from the food they eat. So her food is consistently with turnip greens. I got that from Ernie. And dandelions. I got that from Ernie, but a bunch of other people that they like dandelions. And she does. And tomorrow, we give her a good 20 to 30 minute soak. We rub some good coconut oil on that shell to luster it up, but also to help out with anything that we can't see. Coconut is really good antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. So it's kind of overall good rub. So allows you to hold her, hold your tortoise, and then inspect to make sure they're okay. And she is putting on some weight. And this weekend, we're going to be putting her back in her outdoor tortoise enclosure. Temperatures are going to be more in the 80s, low 80s, so it'll be really good for her. But as you can see, we've started cleaning out some of her cage. We planted some clovers that she hasn't discovered yet, which is shocking, but she's not a clover lady yet. But everything else she's either eaten or started pulling apart. And we actually did start pulling apart the zucchini and transplanting it outside because it is going to eventually die this year. So I'm not sure he's going to come over to see us. Right now she's looking because we usually put food in the smaller dish, but she's gotten a little bigger. So we've been using the reptile one we got from the Wonderful family that we rescued her for us. And I can see why people like redfoots. They're gorgeous first off, the colors. And the other thing is they're very personable. At certain times, like tomorrow, when I wake up, I will come down here either before I go to work or I got tomorrow off. I will come into the area and she'll be waiting for me. And she is waiting for crotch chow, believe it or not. See that response she had? I've been trying to label the food when I drop it off to her by name so she knows what I'm feeding her. It's something I do with the dogs that we have. I say chicken or I say something else and they respond to it. So she's looking, you see her mouth, she's waiting for me to put some food in here, but today is the day that we put very little in the so I've got some dandelions freshly cut, washed off, soaked for 10 minutes. And I've got some Roman lettuce we're growing. Roman lettuce does not like to grow. It's very hard to grow. We keep pulling parts off of it. But there she is. And guys, tortoises aren't for young kids. Just because they're hardy, they have a lot of requirements. It took me almost a month to finally piece this together and figure out the best thing. Open tubs to allow the moisture to rise and get out where it doesn't encompass it. The cage itself is well moisturized. I mean, the heat lamps are out, so what happens is the rises, it sucks up the moisture, but the substrate that I put in here is stone on the bottom, and then it's a topsoil, and then it's a substrate of coconut fiber. We soaked it for 30 to 40 minutes and then put it on there and then, moved it around. We're going to be adding another layer of coconut fiber on this. And because we have plants in here, you'll notice that there's little bugs around. And that just sort of happens when you have vegetables. Somehow they always seem to find where the good stuff is at. And then the soil itself, the topsoil, has eggs and stuff from animals. So it's just something you have to get used to that it's going to be there. The one thing we don't do is we don't leave food in the cage more than 24 hours. And because I work a long day shift, I'm very cognizant of making sure that it's picked up either at night or the first thing in the morning, but because of the heat lamps, pretty much dries everything out. The fruit we get in there, the fruit, I may wash off depending what it looks like, re-chop it up and serve it back to her, because they do eat rotten food that's fall down. It's not something they're not, but it's not rotten where it's rancid, nasty, getting her sick. It just happens to be ripening up and starting to changing colors. But I try to feed her a very high diet of calcium and low phosphates. That was because of Ernie. Ernie's a Redfoot breeder, and he's got a lot of information on there and some tutorials on what to do. And I do have to say, for those guys get annoyed, as I do watch Camp Cannon when it talks about Redfoots, and he glosses over points and he makes a few errors, like they're vegetarians. They're not. They're omnivorous. Most forest species eat whatever falls in front of them. And, these tortoises are not tiny. She'll outgrow this in probably another year, maybe 2, and I'm going to have to double the size of this. And she can hear my voice, and she responds to it in the mornings. But there's Stan.lee, the red-footed tortoise.